Hi, everybody. Number 7, Winston. Rescuer. Pride. Victim. I was born into a family with lots of women, and the male role was clearly defined. Take care of the women was a mantra I heard throughout my childhood. I remember looking at the women thinking they took better care of themselves than the men did, but I was young and soon changed my mind. There was an unstated agreement among the men that women were not as intelligent, capable, or reasonable. They needed the guidance of men. It was by silent agreement that we men never let the women know. That was how we felt. They were our helpers, produced and cared for the children, ran our homes, but without us, they could not survive. I remember my young mind questioning this, but I joined in with my fellow men. This was a club I longed to be a part of. My father had brothers, and their bond was deep. They were strong men with strong opinions. This eventually led to disagreements with anyone who did not agree with their collective truths. It is undeniable that we have stronger bodies than women. We rely on that, giving it so much credit that we use it to dominate this physical world. This leads to war, and the only reason I can see why women need us around so much. It is a barbaric time. Some think of themselves as civilized people, while they plan their next campaign to conquer and destroy. These thoughts are from an old man as I face my time to leave this life. If women need us so much, why do we keep going off to war? Why not stay home? If we return home, we return maimed physically and emotionally and in need of them, not the other way around. While we are gone, the women run our homesteads with the help of the old and the young. What would like be life? What would life be like if we men did not create this state of one against another? Our wars take the lives of so many. How do we justify the mistreatment of innocents? All of these misdeeds are in service of rescuing our women and children from the threat of other men who think like we do. These are some of the lies that we tell ourselves. We are the only ones who believe them. I have been looking at decisions made throughout my life as I sit waiting to die. I am finally willing to admit that when I put others in the position of needing my rescuing, I was telling myself and everyone else that I knew better than they did. It was my job, my duty to help others less capable, those with less understanding who could not make their own way. I see now that I did all these acts out of judgment in order to lift myself up and feel an identity that had value. To play the role I assumed was my responsibility. My conclusion is that I did not respect them enough to allow them to live the life they came here for, including the learning of their personal lessons. What a sorry state of affairs this thinking has brought to me. I look back at all the rescues as my own campaign to be important. When my daughter ran off with her first love, I rescued her from loving the wrong man and have watched her become an unhappy old woman. I teased my younger brother who hated bloodshed and bullied him into being like me. He was struck down in his first campaign. Who knows the greatness he might have contributed if he had felt free to follow his own path. My older brother's wife was a healer and had a gift of sight we could not understand. Arrogantly, I expressed my limited understanding and told the one wrong person one day. Too many whiskeys loosened my tongue, and as a result, she was accused of being a witch and was tortured to death in front of her children. When I tried to rescue her children, I did more damage than good. My well-intentioned rescues were a failure. My son has not spoken to me in years because of my belief that women, children, and younger men are inferior. If any good has come of my transgressions, it may be that my son's insights bring something good out of ignorance. My desperate attempt to have elevated value has crippled my life. I have no idea of self since I focus solely on the lives I saw through eyes with blinders on. If it was true that I knew better, I chose to ignore the glimpses I had seen as a boy. Looking back, it seems like a surprisingly strange decision. My actions became so dominant that any insight I may have offered was ruined by my forcefulness. It is hard to believe that I was trying to help, that rescuing others was a job I felt was my responsibility to perform. With all that trying effort, I created separation instead of the aid I imagined and intended. My son came home to say goodbye and rescued me today. I believe it is what I was waiting for before I could let my body stop. He forgave me and said he understood the contracts we all have with each other before we are born into this physical plane. At first, I became confused, but as I listened, I began to see the truth of what he said. We live in a time of conflict. I cooperated with the conflict. He observed my life and was able to see his way to a different way of living, which has served him and the whole from wellness. Without me as his father, he believes he would not have been able to see the truth of love and oneness that has become his personal belief system. With the insights I have acquired in this last year of inactivity, his message was taken to heart. I have found a measure of peace I have never known before. The concept of coming into this world with previous contracts is a notion I had never entertained before. I will think on this until I pass and see my life from a whole new perspective. I have lived a life of suffering, for it is a tremendous burden to believe you must come up with all the answers to life at every turn. The doubt I felt when I saw my decisions were not helpful for those I was trying to rescue has been a monkey on my back. That subtle energy of guilt has lain in my gut since I first decided to join my male counterparts in believing we were superior. I see us patting each other on the back in false congratulation and acceptance for being so alike that we must be right. We built up our stronghold of dominance over others because they were smaller or different. It is all so false that my heart cringes in pain from shame. So, my final words are the message of an old man who sees the mistakes of his personal path. This force of will that gave me a sense of worth is a lie, a desperate attempt for the power to feel good about my own self. The false power received from this control over others is an illusion. It takes a tremendous amount of energy to maintain and is destined to create conflict. My advice is to find your personal power within yourself. God teaches us about this service to one another when giving and receiving are in balance. If someone comes along and asks for help, do so in a way that helps them find their own power. We all need backup in life. To help is a great gift to give, but we must know how to receive help back. The balance of power in any relationship must be managed, or we break the bond of love. The Gathering Room, Winston. Needing to have the answer. It is a lie that keeps everyone so afraid of not being good enough. The intensity of ridicule we receive when not perfect destroys the confidence needed to create freely. We have become a society that breaks people down with disapproval and then destroys them with rejection. Another of the old pattern habits that do not work for humans. Yes, again, out with the old and in with the new. Raziel smiles warmly in understanding and love. I am so grateful to be moving on with the new. I am surprised that the old can still burrow into my emotions and get a reaction. Luckily, my watcher has been at full awake and I do not stay there. A smile eases the tension from my face, and I send my love and understanding to Winston. He has joined the collective presence of the gathering room. With his light contribution, the sphere surrounding the room fills to a new level. This filling up brightens the space outside of the sphere, and the chord running to me fills up, then expands. In harmony's flow, we all turn to the screen as the next story begins.